Abati.
I'm Vumbai Mutiniri Ekbayong.
And I'm Rufai saying we've got a great show lineup for you for the next 3 hours. Sit back, let's kickstart your day, the morning show right now.
Okay. Yes.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has promised that the gunmen who killed residents of plateau communities will be apprehended and face severe punishment under the law. Bayo Nonuga, special advisor to the president on information and strategy, in a statement said President Tinubu commiserated with the government of Plateau State and Governor Caleb Mutfwang, urging the affected communities to cooperate with the authorities and security agencies by volunteering information to catch the perpetrators and secure their communities. Also, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has vowed to arrest the perpetrators of the recent attacks in Boko's local government area of the state. Addressing Plateau State natives residing in Abuja, the governor reaffirmed his administration's commitment to justice and security, saying the pain of the people is his pain. In the meantime, the Christian Association of Nigeria, Northern States Chapter, is condemning the killing of residents in the Boko area of Plateau State. In a statement issued on Sunday, the chairman of the Northern Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Joseph Hayab, described the massacre as barbaric and unacceptable. Joining us later on this show to discuss the growing insecurity in the North Central area and what must be done to curb it is Solomon Dallo, former Minister of Sports.
Also, we shall be engaging Chisom Bali, suspended River State Commissioner for Youth Development. He'll be speaking on the emergency rule in River State, the need for it to end as soon as possible, and his position on the alleged planned peaceful protest scheduled to hold today in the state.
Headlines around the globe. Alifemi Akisanya brings updates on the foreign scene and World Brief, and we'll also review today's newspaper headlines across the globe. Also, Rotodiri will give us updates on global business outlook. Aaron Akedra will be taking us shoe spotting activities across the globe. Biology up where we fill us in on what's trending around the world and I feel good inspiring stories. It's going to be all that and a whole lot more today on The Morning.
All right, welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. We begin here at home, where the federal government has responded to the 14% tariff imposed by current president, Donald Trump, on Nigerian goods entering the United States. The government expressed concerns that these taxes could harm both oil and non-oil exports, potentially straining trade relations. In a statement, Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, said the policy would reduce the competitiveness of Nigerian products. While Nigeria's exports to the U.S. have averaged $5 to $6 billion annually in recent years, she remains optimistic that this challenge could lead to stronger global trade ties and improvements in non-oil exports through enhanced quality and traceability. So, of course, Rufai, the entire world continues to unpack the impact of the tariffs as some countries begin reacting in varying ways. This is the position of the Nigerian government.
Okay, Trump tariffs caused by phony economics. Vanity wrote an article today and it showed that this was caused by phony economics. While Trump was running for presidency in 2016, he was looking for a very hardline economic policy, which he had always muted even since the 80s. And he looked for people that could back it up. And he told Jared Kushner to help look for. And they saw a book written by Peter Navarro. Half of the things Peter Navarro quoted, very trade deficit hawk, in the book were said to be ascribed to an economy called Ron Vara. The truth of the matter is Ron Vara does not exist. Phony, fake. Ron Vara is an anagram of Peter Navarro. So that's the kind of person that makes policy decisions and influences the president of America. And the markets are falling around the world. The Asian market still fell this morning. And I'm happy that our minister, Jumoke Oduwole, has responded to this. Because we were saying this last week, that we didn't hear any strong reaction. What you were saying invariably is we've got about $6 billion in trade with the Americans. Over 90% of them is crude oil. When you look at what we ship out through AGOA, we didn't have tariff on that. I think you were the one, Vimbai, saying the other day that obviously, effectively, AGOA is over. So how do we struggle? The other 2-3%, urea, fertilizer, maybe not, another 2%, but 90% is going to be crude. Except for the fact that now we started shipping refined, petroleum products out through the Dangote refinery, over 1.2 million barrels. The question is, what happened as regards that? They said they're going to take a pragmatic solution. They're going to stay and watch it. WTO has said this is going to set the economy back by 1%. The same President Trump that says, I want to cut deficit and all of that. The world economy lost $6 trillion. This incident is cited in the pantheon of economic decadence in a day to the likes of Black Wednesday and others. The economies of the world has fallen. I don't just think Nigeria should say we're going to sit down and watch and probably negotiate, like some countries are saying. The Trump authorities say about 50 countries are saying they want to negotiate. I think we should now be proactive and look inwards. We've talked about AFCTA. How can we move this around? We think it's not moved fast enough if we can do that effectively. Another thing the Minister of Trade should be thinking about is the overall effect of all of this Trump situation is that Nigeria is going to be a target. How, you might want to ask me? Go and check the chart of the world most populated countries in the world. Nigeria definitely ranks high. If America is over 300 million, Nigeria is about 250 million. If you say we have a low purchasing power, yes, you're right, but we have a big market. There's going to be a lot of dumping. If those countries can't get into the American market, they'll look for bigger markets. What happens to our industries here that are investing? I think the trade minister should start thinking of the worst case scenario of all of this, because definitely there's going to be a lot more products in the market. Nigerians are going to lap it up. We've had people argue that it's easier to import in this country than to produce locally. We don't even have the infrastructure for production. So how do we get production working? So the first thing is, how do we bolster our businesses against the occurrence of dumping and things like that? And the third way forward will be, how do we attract investment in this very tight economy? This is why I'm going to ask President, all the investment pledges that have been made to you in your foreign trips, please, where are they? Because we need to bolster this economy.
Okay. In 2018, President Trump, now in having a second term, in 2025, he's in this side, he said, trade wars are good and they are easy to win. What everybody is learning internationally and also in the United States is that trade wars are not good. They were not good in 1930. They led to the Depression in part, the Great Depression in the United States. And they are also not good in 2025. What President Trump has done is to upturn the basic foundations of American, relations with the world, either in terms of free trade or in terms of America, as that land that is regarded as the land of freedom and as the God's own country. And now, after the announcement of these tariffs, the Trump administration is defiant. The Trump administration is saying there is no going back, even when they had originally said, there will be negotiations. Either Bessent or Trump himself is saying that, look, this is a medicine, and that, the medicine will take effect. How is it going to take effect? He says, other countries have been pillaging America, and now he has, introduced this pill of correction. Even in the United States, there have been protests. On Saturday, there have been protests. On Sunday, across 50 states, there have been protests in London, there have been protests in Paris. I give that as a background. Now, as for the response by the Nigerian government, what Minister Oduwole was saying basically is that, look, AGOA is going to suffer. That's a no-brainer. It's very obvious. AGOA, the African Growth Opportunity Act, covers about, over 100 products that African countries can, export duty-free to the United States. Now, there is a basic 10% tariff on anything that is imported from anywhere in the world. And then there is the retaliatory tariffs that the US published, and which President Trump was displaying in the Rose Garden. Now, our major concern is Nigeria has been slammed with 14% tariff. Our major export to the United States is petrol, crude oil, petroleum gas, and then maybe cocoa, cereal, meat, some other products like that. Yesterday, I had Dr. Ayo Teriba, who has a PhD in economics, on This Day Live, the Sunday talk show. And he had this interesting response that, look, Nigeria should not retaliate in any way. Nigeria should just play neutral, because for us to take on the United States will mean that we would be slammed with further tariffs. And I said, we're a sovereign state. We should also, show that we are strong. And he said, no, that would be inadvisable. We should just wait and watch and see. Well, that's Dr. Teriba's position. But if you look across Africa, what our Minister of Trade has said is that, okay, Nigeria will find a way of negotiating, collaborate with WTO, SMEs will be affected. Well, obviously, Nigeria has not taken any categorical position. Maybe they prefer the line that Dr. Teriba has recommended. However, look at other countries. Lesotho. Lesotho has the highest tariffs, in Africa, 50%. What Lesotho has said is that, one, it will send a delegation to the United States to negotiate, and two, it will begin to look for other markets. Nigeria, I don't see any clarity in whatever Minister Oduwole has said. I find his statement very woolly. Lesotho has greater clarity. Zimbabwe has even greater clarity than Nigeria. Even if I think that the response by President Mnangagwa, is self-serving and counterproductive. He now says, oh, we have removed all tariffs on imports from the United States because we want to have good relations with, the rest of the world. I think that's unintelligent economics. Sorry to the Zimbabwean to my right. I think your president is wrong. Maybe he hopes that by taking this, acquiescent, genuflecting position, President Mnangagwa thinks that maybe the sanctions imposed on 11 Zimbabwean leaders who have been accused of human rights abuses and corruption will be removed. No, he's making a mistake. Now take Zambia. Zambia, for example, has said, look, they are going for this international football tournament in China, and that, American players in the United States should just stay back and not risk being locked out of the United States. That's another example. There's another country that now says, Namibia says, for you to enter Namibia now as an American citizen or a British citizen, you must get visa. It's no longer visa free. So, but I think that from the point of view of diplomacy, if Nigeria says, okay, we will explore collaboration and all of that, but the real fact is that the entire world, the trade system of the world has been upended by President Trump and his team. And people are protesting, not just in the United States, but also globally. Even the UK is now saying they will put tax on Tesla vehicles in the UK. China has introduced its own retaliatory tariffs. Canada has also done so. But maybe, the Nigerian government is better advised to just play it, softly, delicately, as Dr. Teriba advised on this same station yesterday.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Thank you so much, Dr. Abati, for highlighting the variance of responses and several different perspectives. I am of the perspective that this is a welcome development for the global South. Why do I say that? Because what we are seeing is the dismantling of what is known as the Washington Consensus. This is what America has led for so long, telling the world that neoliberalism and reducing expenditure on social welfare for developing countries is what's best for the global economy. What has this caused? This has caused underdevelopment. This has caused inequality in several developing countries, because we've seen that while this contributes to industrialization in the developed world, it contributes towards under-industrialization to us in the global South, because we're stuck in a perpetual agreement, in a perpetual global order where we're always selling off our raw materials. Now, let's unpack some of the basics of what the 14% tariff really means for Nigeria. For one, the Trump administration has made it clear that oil and gas, energy, minerals are exempt from this tariff. So that means that Nigeria goes largely scot-free. As the Minister of Trade has highlighted, what you have is just a remaining maybe 3 or 4% that largely will affect the small to medium enterprises, people who are exporting cocoa, cashew, which is a little bit strange, of course, because what Donald Trump is doing is a blanket tariff. And we know that America is not able to grow cocoa and cashew. Why am I highlighting this? Because these are the avenues for negotiation. These are the places where people can come to the table and say, fine, this is what things look like. However, we all know that America has no competitive advantage in these particular industries. So let's strike a deal and let's see how we can work together. That's one piece of policy advice in how Nigeria can steer this ship. Now, another piece of advice in this is the fact that because Nigeria has 14%, if you look at the list of tariffs, this is relatively low in comparison to many other countries. You have Pakistan, for example, which has 52%, and we know Pakistan is a manufacturing hub. Now, why is this an opportunity for Nigeria? This means that Nigeria can turn to those countries that have been slapped with higher tariffs and say, come to Nigeria. Assemble and manufacture in Nigeria and export onwards to the United States, because it will still cost you less than it does to manufacture and assemble at home. So there are opportunities for industrialization in this process. The next opportunity is, well, America is not the only place on earth that has an export market for us. Let's strengthen our relations with the BRICS Plus nations. Of course, Nigeria became a member of BRICS Plus just last year. But you find that the populations are higher in the member states of the BRICS Plus communities, and there's a general sentiment at the moment that the Global South needs to engage in more mutually beneficial relationships. So I say this is a win-win, depending on how we navigate it. Excuse me. It's now time for us to see how we can get our house in order and see this as an opportunity to industrialize and to move into new markets, as opposed to an apocalyptic end to a global world order. Well, it's now time for a short break on The Morning Show. When we return, we'll have Adefemi Akinsonya join us for the World Brief and to review top stories in today's newspapers. Do stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
The National Identity Number, NIN, is Individual Identifier, a customized plastic card with digitally embedded information confirming each citizen's identity, and is issued by the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC. It is the only means of identification that is linked to other platforms for official documentation and functionality of citizens. It is used to match a citizen's biometric data and other details in the National Identity Database during verification and authentication. Authenticate your citizenship. Secure your national identity number. Be a real Nigerian.
Taking your business into the future will require a bank that supports you. That's why you need a partner delivering solutions tailored to you and your customers. With First Online, you can enjoy a seamless banking experience and a continually evolving financial platform to reach for even bigger dreams. Let's take giant strides into the future together. You first, First Bank.
Cannot hold a man up to a promise he made while he was naked.
In your world, where you're from, surely I would.
Only a coward awakens the love of a woman, sits back and does absolutely nothing about it.
Do you have the eye of a Legbara?
Where is the eye of Isha?
Do you know what Iju Legbara is? Oh, well,
I am going to die here. This place that nobody knows called Iluari.
Every attack on oil and gas facilities is an attack on our Commonwealth, and our environment suffers for it. The consequences are dire: environmental degradation, disruption of our agrarian culture, and economic hardship. Now, let's stand together against vandalism, crude oil theft, and illegal bunkering. Please report suspicious activities. Protect our Commonwealth and environment, for the fate of our nation depends on it. This message is from Tantita Security Services, Nigeria Limited.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for Word Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Adefemi, good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning, Dr. Reuben. Good morning, Vinvai. Good morning to you all. I hope you're all doing well. Good morning, Rufai. All righty, let me tell you what is happening around the world this morning. Naturally speaking, I know you've touched on it extensively at the beginning of this show, but once again in our World Brief, let's take a look at how these tariffs are affecting Nigeria, specifically Nigerian exports. Now, over the weekend, we do know that Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, did release a statement over the weekend talking about how Nigeria is now positioning itself in light of these tariffs. As we know, the United States has put a 14% tariff on Nigerian exports, and while she admits ramifications Nigerian economy for Nigerian businesses across the spectrum, especially if we're looking at small to medium enterprises, when we break down these numbers, when we break down these figures, there are also different opportunities that are coming off the back of this. And now, if we look at the current state of Nigeria's relationship with the United States when it comes to Nigeria's exports, what we do know is that the vast majority of Nigerian exports to the United States fall between 5 to 6 billion US dollars. The vast majority of that money, of that trade, is within the oil sector, Nigerian's petroleum sector, these different types of exports. And so in addition to that, there are also the opportunity for non-oil exports and how they're going to perform in the light of this. Now, on its face, it's definitely going to have a negative impact. It's definitely going to be a cause for concern, a cause for uncertainty for different businesses across a spectrum of sizes. If we're looking at small to medium enterprises that do operate within Nigeria's non-oil sector, it's definitely going to be a difficult time ahead. But that's exactly the reason why the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment are looking at how Nigeria can diversify its trade options in light of what we're seeing from the United States. That being said, it's still very important for Nigeria to maintain a positive relationship with the United States. We did see, as I said, with this statement released by the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, an image between her and the US ambassador just underscores the importance of this relationship. And while there is obviously going to be some difficulties, what we do also know is that Nigeria is very keen on maintaining and establishing very good ties with the United States because of this economic relationship that it has with it. Aside from that, there are also going to be issues about how intra-African trade can benefit from this new state of affairs. If we're looking at the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, it is exactly a time like this where that underscores the importance of intra-African trade at this time. And when we're talking about diversifying trade positions, we do know that this is something that the United Kingdom are definitely looking at specifically. Now, here in the UK, we do know that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will be delivering a speech in West Midlands today, and it is expected that he will be talking about tariffs and talking about how the United Kingdom is now going to reposition itself and its economy in light of this new state of affairs. Strictly speaking, when we're looking at tariffs coming from the United States, the United Kingdom did find itself in a relatively favorable position with just 10% import tariffs slapped on it, but it's still going to create some shocks and some uncertainty in the market. Now, if we're looking at the UK's manufacturing industry, especially when we're looking at the manufacturing of vehicles, especially electric vehicles, what we are likely to hear Keir Starmer discuss is the loosening of targets, the expansion of more time for people, for companies to be able to reposition itself in a better way. So if we're looking at targets, for example, no manufacturing to include fuel-based vehicles over a certain amount of time, we do know that while the United Kingdom is still going to be committed to that deadline, they are definitely going to be easing those timelines for different subsectors. So, for example, luxury car makers, they're going to be given a bit more time before they have to start creating only electric-based vehicles. So it's just another example of how different countries are making sure that they are repositioning their economies to weather this type of storm. Staying with the United Kingdom, we do know that when it comes to the side effects, it could be an issue of dumping of goods in the United Kingdom in markets that they don't actually want. So when it comes to steel, for example, we do know that when it comes to the United Kingdom and their relationship with the European Union, once imports receive a certain level when it comes to steel, they will trigger tariffs. So you can imagine that when he does speak later on today, he will give a bit more clarity on how it is the United Kingdom is going to weather this type of storm. We can also expect that they, much like Nigeria, are going to be diversifying their trade partnerships, especially with countries like India, for example. India had quite a steep import tariff slapped on it by the United States, so it's very likely that they would be more open to a deal along this way. Now, staying in the United Kingdom, we do know that Kemi Badenoch, who is the leader of the Conservative Party, has rustled a few feathers because she gave her thoughts on Israel denying entry to two British MPs. Both of those British MPs were members of the Labour Party and were going into Israel to be able to get an on-the-ground account of what is happening as it pertains to this conflict taking place in Gaza, what the situation is from the Israel side of this border, but they were refused entry. And what Kemi Badenoch said is that she supported essentially Israel's decision to deny access into their country on these grounds. It is something that has triggered a lot of criticism. The Home Secretary, David Lammy, said that the position of Israel to deny access to these two Labour MPs, to these two MPs, was unacceptable and clearly was not in support of what Kemi Badenoch had to say. But with Kemi Badenoch, her position is that the United Kingdom denies entry over a multitude of reasons into its country, so other countries should be able to do the same. I wonder if she'd feel the same if she were in power and if her own MPs were facing that same type of reality. But that's what we're seeing from the leader of the Conservative Party today. And lastly, today, April 7th, marks 31 years since the beginning of the genocide in Rwanda. This is also, as has been the case for a few years now, the International Day of Reflection of this genocide. It triggers a lot of very uncomfortable memories when it comes to ethnic-based violence on the African continent. We do know that some 800,000 to 1 million Hutus were murdered over the course of this genocide over in 1994. So when we are looking at this time, though, unfortunately, we do find ourselves in this time and age still facing different types of conflicts, some which are ethnic based, some which are religious based, some which are over land or whatever type of situation. We haven't, unfortunately, moved away from violence as a whole. But when we're looking at specific ethnic-based violence, genocides alike, unfortunately, we are seeing accusations of such happening in the Middle East. And it is uncomfortable, to say the least, to know that even though 31 years have passed, the pain that has traveled through generations of Rwandan people, of African people in the south of the continent, across the world, still definitely feels the pain that has languished over these years. So those are your stories. I'd love to hear your thoughts before we move on to the newspapers this morning.
Okay, I mean, we can go through all the numbers. The world market has fallen so much. Trump has ensured that we lost about 6 trillion in the American market alone. I mean, in the world market alone, and the American market about 2 trillion. The seven top stocks, they are called the super stocks, the likes of Nvidia's and the likes, lost over 1 trillion, in the space since all of this happened. So that's about 2 trillion lost out of the money is trying to say, because let's go back to the basics. The reason why all of this is happening in the first place, because he needs money to be able to give tax cuts to the rich, which will amount to about 1 to 2 trillion every year for the next 10 years. That's what he wants to do. So that's the pretext for all of this. And history has taught us how people fail economically. In fact, Ted Cruz was speaking on a podcast over the weekend, and he was saying that they might suffer for it in the midterms. He's not wrong. Because when McKinley in the 1890s brought about the McKinley tariff, he suffered for it in the midterms. He lost his seat in the midterms. But going back to Nigeria, the truth is, it will open our economy up to a lot of dumping like it's going to do in the UK. And Vimba, you were making a point the other time that, okay, we could use our place as a transit point, but we've seen that this economy does not have the infrastructure for a lot of production. That's the challenge. So what it will do is that those countries will still produce. Nigeria still has a big market. They will reduce the prices and they'll dump here. That's what definitely is going to happen. And that's our fear. And that's why the Nifty 50 and other markets are already down. The Nifty 50 in India down, or the Asian markets generally down around the world. Also, the other part of response from Nigeria, anything we're going to do now will be too late because in the first place, we've not even activated our AFCTA as much as we should do. We've not used that as a base to be able to trade. And you see, it's not just any reason why they call America the biggest market. That's a 27 trillion GDP. The next country closer to it is less than 20 trillion GDP. The EU is about 17 trillion GDP. China, 19 trillion. America, 27 trillion. That's why it's the biggest market. And that's why this Trump is doing, as boasted by phony economists like Ron Vara, is going to set the world alight. And it has done that in no time.
All right, I'm going to focus on Rwanda and Kwibuka 31, which is a remembrance of 31 years since the genocide. And yesterday, a conference was held in Kigali under the theme, When Never Again Fails, Continuation of Genocide Ideology. And the conversation around that was how 30 years down, Rwanda still seems to, not just Rwanda, the region still seems to be seeped in genocide ideology, and it still seems to be driving sentiment. And I thought this was an important thing to highlight because you look at it, and across the African continent, we're all battling similar challenges, not at the scale of genocide, but the ethnic baiting has reached a very unprecedented level and is hugely concerning. Rwanda is a nation that we used to look at as a point of example to say this is how bad it can get when we exist along hatred, with hatred along tribal lines and so forth. So it's really devastating to see that this world order that was created due to colonialism. I was just listening to an interview from President Kagame, where he was saying that ultimately it was the Belgians who put the various tribes against each other, segregating and so forth within the region. This particular memorial of the genocide is also very critical for that region because remember, Rwanda has been receiving a lot of opposition based off of their involvement in the war in Eastern Congo and the backing of the M23 and so forth. So this is a significant one today. And I hope that as we continue to memorialize this huge atrocity that was committed, we all can take a sober moment of reflection wherever we are on the African continent to know that our brother, our sister who does not belong to our tribe is not our enemy. They are our brother and our sister, no matter what. We need to extinguish the hate.
Okay, very quickly, I would like to deal with the International Day of Reflection on the genocide in Rwanda. Which was a day that was decided upon by a resolution of the United Nations in 2004, AL/72/6.31 resolution of the United Nations. And the whole idea then, Kofi Annan was Secretary General, was for the whole world to take a minute of silence to remember the about 1 million people that died in that genocide. Mostly, Tutsis, Hutus were also killed. People were cockroaches and, killed. Persons who tried to oppose the genocide also lost their lives. Today is the 31st anniversary. And I think it's important to underscore the statement for this year that has been issued by Antonio Guterres, who talked about the fact that, look, we need to learn lessons from that genocide, because we are at a crossroads in the world, at a time when there is still tension, there is still hate, falsehood in the world. And it could not be more correct. When you look at the situation in Sudan, when you look at the situation between Ukraine and Russia, when you look at the crisis, between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So has the world learned any lessons? But the instructive thing is that, look, in Kigali, they have a Kigali genocide memorial. I visited it once. I've been in Rwanda about 3 times. I couldn't visit that genocide memorial a second time because you just need to go there and see how, that was a horrendous chapter in human history where people turned against each other. Now, since then, Rwanda has tried to go beyond it. In Rwanda now, you don't identify yourself on ethnic grounds, but the pain is still there. The memory is still there. And the worst thing that can happen is the pain of, a horrible memory. So the world needs to learn. And Antonio Guterres is telling the world today that, look, there's a global digital impact. The situation is worsened now by the fact that there is digital technology. And now it's very easy for people to spread hate, to spread falsehood. And he's also urging people, parties, countries, to sign up to the UN Convention on the Prevention of Genocide, which remains a major problem, despite the fact that there was even an international tribunal on genocide in Rwanda, but has the world learned any lessons? Now, to drive home the point, finally, it's about the role of the media in conflict situations. Since we're doing this in, on television, there's a book titled The Media and the Rwandan Genocide, edited by Alan Thompson, with an introduction by Kofi Annan. It says, look, the media can contribute to the distribution of hate and falsehood and genocide and hate. And that's why I think we also have a role as journalists to know, how to treat conflict situations. Then there's also a book by Philip Gurevich. I think that's titled "We Wish to Inform You That Tomorrow We'll Be Killed Along with Our Families." That's the title of the book by Philip Gurevich, because genocide was about a lot of uncertainty. we hope that on this day of reflection, everybody will learn. As for the statement by Nigeria, by Minister Oduwole on the situation, it's just long on rhetoric and very short on specifics. But I mentioned before you came that, okay, I had an expert, on the program yesterday, This Day Live, and, he was of the opinion that, Nigeria should just take it easy. Maybe that's what Nigeria is doing, but all of that long speech statement from Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment, it's just long on rhetoric without any specifics. We'll consult with counterparts in the US. Okay. We'll consult with WTO. What does that mean? Just surface statement without rigor.
Well, we're hoping, Dr. Reuben, to speak one-on-one with Minister Oduwole at some point today. So hopefully we'll be able to press her on specifics so that we can get a better understanding of what she said. Papers this morning, and as ever we begin with the front page of This Day. Now this morning, this day, just like our world brief, and just as we've just concluded discussing, it has lead with Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, saying that Trump's 14% tariff on Nigerian exports will impact the $6 billion worth of Nigerian exports to the United States inevitably. And as the ministry seeks to, boost its relationship with the United States, it does remain in talks with the World Trade Organization and for mutually beneficial outcomes. As I said, we're hoping to speak to the Honourable Minister at some point today and be able to press her on some specifics. Moving on to the New Telegraph, though. The New Telegraph leads with the Federal Workers Forum directing its state coordinators to begin immediate mobilization of workers for a nationwide protest scheduled to commence on the 22nd of April this month. Of course, this is should the federal government fail to pay their outstanding 5 months of wages to these people, among some other demands. Recall that the workers had earlier issued a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government demanding the payment of their 5 months, which is a 35,000 naira wage award owed to them, or risk national action by the union. So this is what we're seeing ahead of the 22nd of this month. Now, the Punch, in the same vein, leads with the national president of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, Alhaji Haruna Kankara, saying that some 20 states are still yet to implement the 70,000 naira new minimum wage for local government workers and primary school teachers. Now, these states include Yobe, Gombe, Zamfara, Kaduna, Imo, Ebonyi, Cross River, the Federal Capital Territory, Borno, and 11 others. Moving on to The Guardian this morning, and The Guardian dedicates its headline this morning on River State specifically. In one fiscal year, 2 budgets have spiked government concerns. Moving on to the Daily Trust and the Vanguard, both of them have very similar takes on the same story. They also look at River State as there are calls for protests demanding the reversal of that declaration of a state of emergency in the state. And anxiety is also reportedly growing as police and protest organizations, they're struggling to reach an agreement on how best to handle any type of public demonstrations. And then finally this morning, the Daily Independent reports that a weaker naira is responsible for the success in Nigeria's travel and tourism industries. The paper also features a story on how more airlines are emerging in Nigeria despite a decline in passenger traffic. Essentially, 15 domestic carriers are battling for 11.5 million passengers. All we can hope is that the price for airfares does come down so more people would be more inclined to use them. Those are your papers from Nigeria this morning.
All right, thank you so much, Adefemi. We will try and balance out our analysis so next time we can have more time to dive into the newspaper review. But thank you so much for your contribution as always. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Rotis Odiri to give us updates on the global business activities. Do stay with us.
You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Arise News, awards and beyond.
We go to the lens of the universe to bring you the top stories of the day.
From the breaking news to the big stories,
from Nigeria, across Africa, and the world, we bring a unique perspective.
A Nigerian perspective, an African understanding of global events as they occur.
Politics and policy, people and events.
Thought leaders and newsmakers, innovation, technology, culture, and the arts,
as well as everything else in between.
Every night on Africa's premier news broadcaster, we ask the hard questions and get the answers. Speak to the experts that give the deep insights on issues that shape our world.
Every news night on Arise, the world's standout news channel.
Rise and shine, Nigeria. Your mornings, our passion.
Start your day with us, Nigeria. Together, we make mornings better.
Wake up and thrive, Nigeria. Your mornings are our dedication.
A new day with you, Nigeria. Your mornings are our commitment.
Join us every morning, Nigeria. Your mornings, our priority.
There is a reason why Nigeria wakes up with us. Every morning, we deliver the news you need to know. We speak to the voices that matter. We cut through the noise and bring you the unvarnished truth. And we always strive to brighten your day.
Wake up with us, Nigeria. Your mornings are our mission.
Feel the pulse of the planet. From New York to Nairobi, London to Lagos. Our world is connected. Our stories intertwined. Join us as we navigate the news that shapes our lives. News through the voices that live it, the experts that make sense of it, and the leaders that shape it. Our network of correspondents around the world ensure that you don't miss a thing. Trust us to bring you unfiltered news, deep dives, and powerful conversations. The world never stops, and neither do we. Every second counts, and every story matters. Give us 60 minutes, and we'll give you the world.
Naira, shilling, China, yen, interest rates are up again. Commodities, bonds and shares. Seize the bulls and mingle with the beers. Derivatives and currencies. Help me understand it, please. Finance gurus, the thieves and the tricks. Portfolio is getting thick. Come on, trade. Let your money move with the wisdom. Trade, trade. Let the markets take you there. Stay up to date with business and markets every weekday on the Arise Exchange.
You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Arise News, awards and beyond.
We go to the lens of the universe to bring you the top stories of the day.
From the breaking news to the big stories,
from Nigeria, across Africa, and the world, we bring a unique perspective.
a Nigerian perspective, an African understanding of global events as they occur,
Politics and policy, people and events,
thought leaders and newsmakers, innovation, technology, culture, and the arts,
as well as everything else in between.
Every night on Africa's premier news broadcaster, we ask the hard questions and get the answers. Speak to the experts that give the deep insights on issues that shape our world.
Every news night on Arise, the world's standout news channel.
The Constitution is a written supreme law of the Federal Republic, which sets the fundamental principles or established precedents according to which our nation is governed. Every chapter of the Constitution takes care of the national golden rules. The current Constitution was enacted during the inauguration of the Fourth Republic on 29 May 1999. It is expected that citizens are equipped and conversant with the Constitution, so as to be literate in the laws guiding us as a nation. Know your rights and responsibilities and abide by them. Be a real Nigerian.
How far, Niger? Welcome to the Glow Cafe app. Come in. Because it's time for an upgrade. Your own personal Glow Cafe app open 24/7. Welcome to bigger, better, smarter. Welcome to total control of your data, your airtime. Mom, I'll call you back. How you buy? I'll send you data. How you share and how you recharge. Movies, gaming, music, all in one place. Welcome to More Valley. Download the upgraded Glow Cafe app and get more data. Get 100% recharge bonus and get a massive 100 gigabytes data bonus when you register. Want it all? Download all this into this.
Unlimited. True strength. What defines it? The brilliance of a player? Or when a team comes together to win? A solo beat? Or the rhythm of many? The flair of one dancer or the art of a troupe? One distinct voice or the beauty of the symphony? At FCMB Group, we build ecosystems, empower communities, and create the future. Because we believe it's not just one, but the power of the group that delivers the future we all desire. FCMB, the power of the group.
It's time for the main event. This is incredible. He has written it, and the dream lives on. I cannot believe it. They are in such a menacing mood here. Hear the place in all its magnificence.
Stay connected to DSTV this April and May and get all the football finals you want.
Africa is a continent brimming with potential and promise. The need for robust infrastructure is ever growing. At the heart of this transformative journey is UBA Group, a beacon of financial support and innovation. With a rich legacy of over 75 years, UBA Group has been at the forefront of funding and facilitating key infrastructure projects across the continent. we partner with governments, businesses, and communities to ensure that our projects align with Africa's unique needs and aspirations. As we look to the future, UBA Group remains steadfast in its mission to support Africa's infrastructure evolution, creating lasting impact that empower communities and drive progress. UBA Group.
The Fidelity Gets Alerts in Millions promo is back and better. This time around, we're giving out a whopping 159 million naira. 10 customers stand a chance to win 1 million naira in the monthly draw. That's not all. You can also win 2 million naira, 5 million naira, and 10 million in the grand draw. To qualify, open any Fidelity savings account with 5K or fund your existing Fidelity account with multiples of 5K to get more tickets in the draw. Then sign up to either our mobile app, *770#, or get any of our Fidelity debit cards. Remember, the more 5K you save and transact, the more tickets you get into the draw. This promo is open to new and existing customers and runs from now to August 20, 2025. This promo is approved by National Lottery Commission and the FCCPC.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for global business updates, Rotus Udiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Basi. Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai. All our viewers.
Bro, Rotus, was that traffic again?
Oh, gosh. Let's not get into that.
But Minister Umahi